Hi, and welcome to another video by Get It Done Home Repairs. Today's project, we're going to be replacing this vanity top, the faucet, the drain, and the cabinet with a new one. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to lay out all of our tools on the floor, preferably on something that you're not going to damage the floor, break a tile or anything like that, so make sure you put down something to protect the floor. Next thing, in this particular case, we have to remove that door because we need to get this vanity, which is 22 inches wide, through a doorway that's 22 and about a half inches wide. So it's going to be a tight squeeze to get it out. So we're going to take the door off so we have a little more room to work. First thing you want to do is we're going to make the vanity lighter to move, because for one person moving it, it's very difficult. So we're going to remove all the doors and we're going to remove the drawers, and then we're going to continue. First thing we'll do now is I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to show you step by step what we're going to do, and then we're going to get it done. First thing we're going to do is we're going to shut the water supply off to the sink itself. Now there's usually shuttle valves underneath there. You just want to make sure that the valves are off and that there's no water flowing through it before you remove the supply lines, otherwise you're going to have a mess underneath the cabinet. Alright, so that's the first thing we're going to do. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the trap, or the P-trap in this particular case, which is the drain that goes into the wall and then down and out. We're going to put a bucket underneath it to catch the water that comes out of it before we remove anything, because you will get water out of the trap. There's no doubt in my mind. Alright, so let's get in there. I'll show you what we're going to do, and we're going to get this job done. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put these hinges, we're going to take these hinges off. And the way you do it is you come up underneath the bottom of the hinge with a flat screwdriver, and you just tap the screwdriver up and you can knock the hinge out. Now if that doesn't come out like that, because sometimes they're pretty tight, you can come up from the bottom right here and just tap on it on the bottom, and it gets the hinge pin out a little bit, and then you're able to push it out. So we did that here, and we did that down there, and we're going to take the door off. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to come underneath the sink. Okay, we're going to come underneath the sink here. We're going to put a bucket underneath here like this, and we're going to disconnect this trap right here and remove this from the drain itself. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here. We're going to shut these valves off, turn them off all the way, as far as they can go. Sometimes you wind up with a couple of drops coming out, but we're going to close it just like this. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the exact same thing on this one over here too. And we're going to come up here and we're going to turn the water on to make sure that it's off. Okay? Same thing on this one underneath here. We're going to turn this one off too. Nice and tight. And then we're going to come back up top here, turn it on. And as you can see, the water is off. Now we still have to be careful down the bottom here, because when we remove these lines here, we are going to get some water coming out there as well. Okay, so we're going to put our bucket underneath here as well to try to catch any water that comes out of there. This is the piece for the sink itself that pops up the center. We squeeze these together. This piece here, you just squeeze it together and you can take it off, and now that is disconnected. Okay, and we're going to grab a 5/8 wrench. We're going to take out that, and we'll remove the two supply lines. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take these doors off right here, and the way you do it is you just grab a Phillips head screwdriver or a Phillips head electric screwdriver, and we're going to take these doors off so that this vanity is a little easier to work on underneath here. Alright, so let's take these screws out first. You can see it does open up this area here a little bit. We're going to take these drawers out as well so we can lighten the vanity up itself, and we're going to take these out and then we're going to continue underneath the bottom. We're going to remove those lines. So let's do that. Remember, I told you we take these supply lines off. Sometimes you have water leaking out, so make sure you have a bucket underneath you to catch anything that's going to be possibly dripping out. All right, so that's what we're going to do now. We're going to disconnect it. Nice and easy. You can always tighten it up, but if you break it loose too far, you may have a mess. All right, so be real careful when you loosen it, just to make sure we have no water coming out. And as you can see, there's nothing leaking out now. We're all going to take it off very slowly though. Okay, so now it is starting to drip a little bit, so we're just going to give it a minute or so just to drip out, because it may just be the water that's inside this line coming out, but we don't want to take it off until we're absolutely sure that we don't have any kind of a major spray of water underneath here. So we'll give it just a minute to drip out. Make sure you have a rag ready just in case. And it should start to slow down in just a minute. Okay, so now we know the supply line is empty. We're going to unscrew it the rest of the way. Take it off and lift it up out of the way. And as you can see, maybe you can, we'll just look right here to make sure we have no more water coming out. We're just going to dry it off a little bit just to make sure. And it looks like we're in good shape. No more leaks coming out of here. So that one is done. Now we're going to come over and we're going to do the exact same thing on the other one. Be very careful, like I said, because sometimes it will start to drip out. Okay? Now if you try to turn it and it's real tight, make sure you hold the valve so you don't twist it in the wall and bend it. And now we're going to loosen it up nice and easy. Remember, we're going to get some coming out of there. So you want to have your bucket handy. And then we'll let it all drip out. And then we'll unscrew it the rest of the way by hand. Drip out, and it should start to slow down. And that's it. Let's dry this off. It doesn't matter if you get a couple of drops of water on the ground, it doesn't really matter, because this cabinet, remember, is trash. Alright, so now our supply lines are disconnected here and here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come underneath here and we're going to remove this trap right here, and we're going to take out this section right inside here so we can continue to take this sink and countertop out. And the way you're going to do that, get yourself a pair of adjustable pliers like this. You just grab this, put it on here, and you just loosen it just a little bit counterclockwise. Now that's pretty corroded, so we're going to come down here and we're going to loosen this one up right here as well. Make sure your bucket's underneath the bottom because it will leak. Okay, take this, we'll move this up a little bit, just like this, okay? Next thing we're going to do now is we're going to come up underneath here again, and we're going to loosen that one up, and we're going to remove this section right inside here. So let's do that. There we go. Okay. All right, so now this is disconnected. We're going to take this totally out. And the way you would do that is we're going to loosen up this one right here so we can swivel it. Just a little bit. Okay. And then we'll just take this, turn it to the side, and take this out. For now, we're just going to tighten this up and we're going to leave it here, because what happens is the water inside here, it keeps the gas from backing up through the sewer pipe, and you don't have the smell of sewerage in the area you're working at. So we're just going to snug this down for a minute. I will tell you this too, just so you know. These seals inside here, they do need to be replaced, so we are going to replace those as well. Okay? So now this, we're going to take off. Pull this down, and that comes off, and this is the seal I was telling you about. We're going to replace these, okay? Okay, so now our countertop is ready to come off, so we're going to lift this countertop up and out, and we're going to get rid of it, and then we'll continue with the removal of the vanity. So now we have our vanity in place. We brought it in through that doorway right there. Again, when we brought the vanity in, we had to stand it up on end because it was such a tight turn coming in. Make sure when you turn it up on end that the end that faces into a dead corner is the end that you're pivoting on, just in case you scratch it. And as you can see, we did put down a lot of stuff here to keep from damaging anything. We slid our vanity into place where it belongs. We are now going to shim it up on the bottom right here so that we can get it leveled up on a level right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to find a stud in the wall someplace in here. We're going to find where the stud is, and we're going to put a screw right through here and through the tile to secure the vanity to the wall. All right, so let's continue. Let's grab a stud finder and locate the stud. Next, we're going to come in here with a stud finder, and we're going to find out where the stud is located in this wall. So we're going to start in the far corner, and we're going to work our way over and find out where the stud. We're going to continue over. Okay, so we know our stud starts right there, so we're going to mark it, and then we're going to continue over. We're going to see where our stud ends. Okay, so it starts right there. We're going to continue slowly. Okay, so that's where our stud starts here. Okay. Check it again. Starts right there. And ends right there. So we know that this must be a double 2x4 in here. It's almost 3 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to come right to the center of it, put a little mark here, and that is where we're going to drill our hole to secure this to the wall itself. Now what we're going to do is we're going to measure from this corner here over, and we know it's 32.5 inches. So we're going to measure 32.5 inches from the corner. We're going to measure 32.5 inches, and we're going to put a small hole down in the bottom, right here. We're going to measure over 32 inches, put a small hole in here, and then we're going to drill that tile with a tile drill bit so we can secure this cabinet to the wall so we won't have any movement once it's fully installed. All right, so let me make the measurements, and we're going to drill a small hole in here, and we're going to continue. Now we know it was, again, 32 and a half inches. So we're going to come across here, 32 and 1/2 inches, which is right here. Let me just point this out to you here as well. 32 and a half inches is right there. And if you look right down here, that's our supply line coming in. So the stud is real close to the supply line right here coming into the wall itself. All right, so let's put a little mark right here, and we're going to drill a small hole in the wood. We're going to mark the tile, and we'll drill our tile and screw this to the wall. Okay, now we're going to switch over to a tile bit so that we can drill into the tile without cracking it. Remember, when you're drilling a tile, you want to drill very slowly. Okay, so now we drill through. Now we're going to put our screw right through there to secure the cabinet to the wall. Now we put a screw right through here. We shimmed it up right here as well, and up on top here, and we screwed the cabinet right to the wall itself. All right, so now this cabinet is all set. I will point this out to you as well. We did take a level, and we put a level on here, and we can see it's nice and level. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our cabinet, the top vanity, and we're going to lay the vanity in. So after we have the cabinet now connected to the wall, we're going to put a slight bead of silicone right up on top here on this ledge right here where the cabinet is going to come in contact with the vanity itself. So we have some silicone now. We're just going to put a couple of little dabs on here, and we're going to lay the vanity top on top of it. And you don't need a lot. This is just to keep the vanity from moving around once we do lay it on top. Okay. Okay. All right, so our vanity top is in. We're going to let this glue dry a little bit from the silicone, and then we'll come back and we'll put it back together. Now next we're going to be installing this faucet here. Now it's personal preference which one you want to use, but this just happens to be the one that I'm going to put on. All right, so we took our directions out and we read our directions, and now this particular application is a 3-hole application. So we need to use this plate here along with that gasket that's supplied with it as well. All right, this gasket here is for single hole application. If you had one single hole and you did not use this plate, then that gasket, you would slide it onto here and it would be right on the bottom. But this one here, in this case, we're not going to use it. We'll put that off to the side. This we're going to hold on to because this piece here is the tool to remove the strainer from up underneath here. So we're going to put this on the side as well. And these are the tools we're going to need right now. Our lock bolt here, or in the lock nut, and our tab here. Remember, this goes only one way, this side down. So this side faces up to the bottom of the sink, and our supply lines go right through there. All right, so that's where we're going to put it through right now. All right, so let's get it up there, and we'll get this set up. So here's everything we have right now. We just laid it on top of a cloth so we don't damage our new vanity top. We're going to take this piece here. We're going to remove this sticky back right here. Throw it away, of course. And then we're going to put this underneath here where it belongs. Okay, just like that. And now that will keep any water from getting down into the cabinet itself. So this piece here, we're going to take, we're going to put it up like this, right here. Okay, and now we're going to feed this through, like this. Just like this. And now we'll go down on the bottom and we're going to put this piece on the bottom. All right, and then this nut to hold it in place. So let's do that. So we're just going to hold this in place and we're going to screw it up until it's snug. We're not going to tighten it up tight yet. We're just going to screw it down just a little bit until it's tight, and then we'll do our final adjustments in a second. Okay, so now it's fairly close. We're going to go underneath the bottom now. Let's take a look up underneath there. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, and that, let's get some light here so you can see a little better. That's what it looks like up underneath here. We're just going to turn this so that's straight, just like that. We have these pieces lined up here nice and straight, and now we're going to snug this up with the tool that comes supplied with it. We'll put it on here like this. I'm going to need two hands, but I'm going to put a screwdriver through here, and I'm going to tighten it up all the way until it's snug. All right, so that's what I'm going to do, and we'll continue on top. Put it on there just like this. Grab a screwdriver and put it through here. And after you're sure everything is snug and in the correct position, we're just going to tighten it down just a little bit. Okay. Okay. All right, so that's it. Nice and tight. Do not lose this tool. It comes in very, very handy. All right, next we're going to take our supply lines that come on the unit itself, and one of them is going to be marked hot, and the other, of course, is going to be the cold. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take these lines, bend them up around up here, and we're going to connect them on just like this. Now, I do want to point this out. If you have any kind of plumber's putty or Teflon or anything on there, take it off right now so it'll be a nice, clean, tight fit. All right, you do not need to tighten it real tight because, as you can see, I hope you can see it, there's a little O-ring inside there. So that way the O-ring is going to seal and keep it from leaking. All right, so let me wipe this off and we'll put it back together and get those lines on. Okay, so we grab our rag now and we'll clean off any of the plumber's putty that may be on these right here, as well as in here where the rubber is going to seat. Same thing here. Let's clean it up right there. And let's clean this off right here, just like that. Okay, now we're going to take our hot line and we're going to connect it up onto the hot side right here. Now you can take the line itself and put it anywhere you want. A lot of times the easiest thing to do is to just loop it up and hide it up in the back like this. And then we're going to screw this down. Remember, the one on the left is your hot side, the one on the right is your cold. So we're going to catch it in there just like that. And then we're going to snug this down. You don't have to go real tight, remember, just snug. Okay? Same exact thing on this one right here. Push it up and out of the way. Put it on top here. Screw it down as far as you can go by hand. And then we'll snug this down just a little bit as well. Okay, nice and tight. And that's it. That's all there is to connect these supply lines up like that. We're going to keep them up there. Now, we're not going to turn this on yet because we need to connect up our trap into the sink. Next, we're going to put the drain assembly into the opening of the sink itself. Now, here it shows you just putting a gasket up underneath here, which is this gasket right here. It goes up underneath the bottom like that, and this is supposed to seal it against the sink so that you don't have any seepage through here. But what I've learned is that a lot of times you need to use what's called plumber's putty underneath there. And so what we're going to do is going to take a little bit of plumber's putty out of here. Now you can use extra, it doesn't really matter, because whatever seeps out, we're going to take it off and throw it away anyway. So let's take some plumber's putty out. We're going to take it and we're going to turn it into a long ribbon like this. Just rub it in your hands. You don't need a lot, so we're going to make it fairly thin, just like this. Same thing here. Okay, we're going to take this and we're going to put it up underneath the bottom right here, just like this. Okay. All the way around like that. And then we're going to take this off. And then we're going to push it down just like this. Okay, now we're going to push this through the sink and we're going to connect it up on the bottom. So let's do that. Then we're going to hold it in place. We're going to take our nut with our washer on here and screw it up on the bottom. Okay, I'm going to snug it down till it's pretty tight, very slowly, because the putty up top is going to start to squeeze out. I'll show you what I mean. See, the putty starts to squeeze out here, so we're going to continue to tighten it down. Let's take this out so you can see a little better. We're going to tighten it down until that putty all comes out, and then we'll clean off the excess, and we should be all set. Okay. All right, so now we're just going to take off the excess putty up top, and we'll wrap this up. Now next, you can see everything is connected up here, but we need to get this drain connected up here into that pipe right there coming out of the wall. And as you can see, they don't line up in a straight run. So we need to put an adapter on here to adapt this to come out this way and then over to the bottom of this pipe here. All right, so let me get the adapters and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so now after we have it all put back in, we tightened everything up nice and tight. We put our trap in underneath here the way we had to run it. Now, as you know, this was off-centered. It used to be over here, but we relocated it over there, so we had to make up a couple of pipes to make up the difference in 6 or 7 inches, whatever the difference was. All right, but that's how we did it. Our supply lines are now connected. We turned the water back on right here and here. Now, I will point this out to you. If you get a drip down underneath the bottom, right there, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You just come up underneath here with a wrench and you tighten that nut right there. Just tighten it up just a little bit and the drip will stop. All right, after it's all put together, just make sure that everything is bone dry, that you have no leaks any place. Remember, water is your enemy when you're dealing with this stuff here. All right, and we ran the sink, we ran it with hot water to make sure that we had no leaks at all. The reason we did hot is because it's made of plastic, and as you know, plastic expands and contracts depending on the temperature. So that's why I elected to do it in hot to soften everything up a little bit, and then come back and tighten them all up and make sure everything is nice and tight and we have no leaks underneath here whatsoever. All right, that's it. This job is all done. All right, so that's it. You can see doing this vanity is really not that difficult. The hardest part was actually doing that plumbing for the drain underneath the bottom because of it being offset like that. There was a little bit of calculation you had to do to make sure you got the right angle so that the water flows in a very continuous line versus going in one direction and turning and going the other. So that's why we elected to put the little adapter on there to make the water flow nice and smoothly. But that was the hardest part of the whole job, was actually getting the plumbing parts that you need. Now, a lot of times you can go to the big box stores, which I would not recommend. I went to the big box store to try to pick up the stuff, and it was like a bomb hit the place. Debris all over the place. They had half the stuff they didn't even have. So I went to my local plumbing supply store, who 123 gave me all the pieces I need, and we put it together, and the job is actually finished. Don't forget, check it, make sure there's no leaks. That's the most important thing. I know I said that before, but it's real important. And that's it. This job is done. If you'd like to see future videos that I upload, hit that notification, subscribe of course, hit the notification bell in that corner down there, and you'll see the little bell, and you could turn on to be notified of every upload or occasional uploads. You choose what you'd like to see if you'd like to see more of these. All right, that's it. This job is done, and we're on to the next. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.